What's up, everybody? This is episode number 2 of the official New Year resolution, I guess, of making more content and putting it on YouTube. And by making more content, I mean making more authentic content and putting it on YouTube with a lot less editing, a lot less filtering, a lot less. A lot less of the noise that you see in a lot of the other videos from a lot of the other creators. And by no means is it any hate to any of the other creators. I just think, for me, I've found that the more authentic videos that I've come across and more authentic creators have resonated with me on a personal level. So, going forward is trying to make more authentic videos. And even though they might be boring, they might not get a lot of views. Doesn't matter. It's for myself and anybody that wants to watch and tune in. So if you're new here, subscribe, like, and follow the video all the way through. So today we got on the agenda a few things, a few life updates for myself, where I'm at with training, where I'm at with possibly work or my thoughts and work. And then, why I'm making this video today. And then, so life updates, where we're at with the Ironman training and prep. And then thoughts of the day. Pretty simple. So the agenda today is life updates, where we are with the Ironman 70.3 prep. Let me throw that in there for everybody that doesn't call the 70.3 as an Ironman. And then my thoughts of the day or my thoughts of this last 2 weeks or whatnot. So a few life updates. My last video I talked about how I was assumed to be a father of 2 within the next couple of days or any days at that time. So actually a day later, my wife went into labor and all is well. She had a healthy baby girl, and my wife was pushed through like a trooper, made it through the labor and delivery like a real trooper, and so she's healthy and recovered, and the baby's healthy and recovered. So over the last 2 weeks, it's been pretty intense in terms of what our schedule's been like, and maybe not intense, maybe actually more laid back, but just a change in priorities, right? And what I mean by that is I've been off the last couple of weeks, so we've had more than enough time on our hands. But with the new baby coming and with the 2-year-old and the toddler being here, my priorities have shifted, right? The first week, honestly, I probably took the whole first week off of training. And what I mean by that is just no super intense trainings, no super long trainings. Maybe I came out to the garage and did some kettlebell work or some quick little workouts that I could do here at home. Sat in the sauna and whatnot, but nothing super crazy in terms of training. Just to give my wife and myself and our family some time to adjust to the new lifestyle that we've just inherited. And we couldn't be more happy, right? So the first week kind of took a little bit slower in terms of training. Now this second week, I've been getting back into it a little more. We've been getting a little bit more of a routine down with our toddler and with the newborn and how we sleep and how we're sharing shifts and whatnot. So that's kind of been a little bit easier. For the most part, we split the toddler up in our room, and then the baby has been in a separate room, and my wife and I kind of just been splitting the night. She's takes the first shift from the time we go to bed till 2 o'clock in the morning, and then from 2 o'clock to 7 or 8 o'clock when the house wakes up is kind of in my shift. But she's been kind of taking on the role a little bit more the last couple of days, just because the baby's kind of been cluster feeding and whatnot. So it's been fun. The priorities changed a little bit. You lose a little bit of time, but now it's just a matter of adjusting. And I have another week off, I believe, from work. So we'll see how it goes when I have to go back to work, because I do work full time, and priorities will have to adjust, and and we'll have to just remain flexible then. But as far as that goes, yeah, everything's been good. I'm happy to be home, happy to have this time with my family. And then also another life update while we were home. I believe it was last Sunday or 2 Sundays ago. Last Sunday, I believe. I was scrolling Facebook Market on a Sunday morning, and sure enough, I came across what I thought wasn't believable at all, which is this bike right here in the background. Or let me see if I can move it. This Prevail P3 TT bike I came across on Facebook Market for a sweet, sweet deal. And I thought to myself, there's no way this can't be possible, right? No, you don't see, you rarely see deals on stuff like this. So sure enough, I messaged the guy right away asking how much it was. He told me the price, he confirmed the price, and I was like, all right, cool, I'll be right there. And luckily, trying to stay without spending too much money on this whole Ironman prep thing, because if you haven't looked into it or haven't accounted for how much you'll actually spend to do this, it is quite a bit of money. So trying to keep expenses as low as possible. I did not think I would be getting a TT bike for this first race, but we lucked out. We found this, and I had just sold like $300 worth of stuff that I had in my storage that I just wasn't using or hadn't used in a couple years. So it was a win-win, because I made I made enough money to just go and buy this bike, which was it was $250. So it's a Prevail P3 TT bike with zip wheels, zip 404 wheels, Durace group set, and I believe the big cog, I believe they call it. I don't know all the terminology for biking. But I believe the big cog, I don't know all the terminology for the bikes yet, but it was swapped out to a SRAM Force. Don't know why, but pulled up to the guy's house. He was like, I still couldn't believe the deal I was getting on this bike. I thought there was no way this guy has to be getting divorced, or he has to be some life event had to have happened to where he's selling this bike like this. So pulled up, met the guy, super cool guy. He said he was moving to Italy and selling everything here. And what he was gonna sell here, he could buy over there for probably cheaper. So I got the sweetest deal on it. So I've only rode it twice now. First time I rode it was just a quick 10-mile ride, just to kind of see how I felt and see where I needed to adjust at. And then the second time I rode it, I went out with my brother-in-law, and he has a road bike, and I could not believe how much of a difference it makes. At first, I was kind of like, I didn't believe how much of a difference the TT bike would make after watching YouTube videos and whatnot. So I had my mindset on not really buying one for this race. And then I went and rode with my brother, and with minimal effort, I was flying on this thing. So we brought it back to the house. I adjusted it as best as possible, taking the measurements using Microsoft Copilot, just because I don't want to deal with the hassle of taking it in and getting a proper fit just yet. We may wait a couple of maybe closer to, or maybe after this race when I do a full Ironman, just to get a better feel for it. So I did the best I could with adjusting it to myself, and so hopefully this weekend, maybe tomorrow or Saturday, we can go on a 20 to 30 mile ride just to see how it feels, see where else we need to adjust, and see if we need to buy any extra spacers or anything for myself to get it adjusted accordingly. So that's all the life updates. Moving on to the Ironman training. Like I said, I believe we are 26 weeks out, and when I started this, I made the decision 38 weeks out, I believe. So now that we're approaching the 6 month marker, I really want to work on dialing it in. I spent the last 12 weeks building everything, right? So we got the bike, we started swimming, and we been steady building our run. Haven't really been catering to the run too much, just because, I mean, I feel like the run out of everything is what I can just lock in a few months out and really improve on. But we're still doing the run nonetheless. Swimming, I'll be honest with you, I haven't swam too frequently over the last month or two. Maybe, a couple times a month. And part of me is thinking, all right, if I can just cross the finish line for the swimming in a decent amount of time, that's fine. I'm not going to go try to break records or anything on a swim, just because, I'll be honest with you, not having swam before, even as a child, recreationally I swam obviously, but like competitively not swimming prior to this, swimming is probably one of the most humbling things in terms of learning a new sport, right? So I've recently made that change to where it's like, no, I need to be able to do everything and see everything through, right? So I need to be decent enough at the swim to get a pretty decent time. Biking has really been my main focus, and I've actually kind of fallen in love with biking. And at first I hated on bikers when I've never had a bike like this, so or like the Scott that I bought. I never had a road bike like that. So when I'd see people in the tights and the shoes and whatnot, I kind of hate on it and make jokes about it or whatnot. And now I am one of those people, right? So kind of fallen in love with the whole biking thing. It's super fun, it's super challenging, a different challenge for sure. But nonetheless, I've grown to love it a little bit more than the swimming or the running. And yeah, so I've been building on the biking, been locking in on the biking, and I think my biking is going to be probably the strongest workout out of the three when it comes to the race. And then the running, I try to work runnings into every gym session, every lift session. So I'm not too worried with the runnings. I'll hit a long run every now and again. I did a long run 2 weeks ago. I believe it was a 10-miler. I did that at right around an 8:10 pace. So I'm not too worried with the running. I believe I can kind of lock that in the closer we get to the Ironman training. And then I will say, with starting this Ironman training, I have not been too consistent with jiu-jitsu. I love jiu-jitsu by all means. If I can pick jiu-jitsu out of all the things, I would pick jiu-jitsu, right? But this is just this endurance racing is just a different approach to challenge, to see where I'm at in life, and what I can do and what I'm capable of. But I'm still been trying to hit the open mats at jiu-jitsu maybe once or twice a week. I've been going just to try to keep my game consistent. And yeah, I went to a gi, so I mainly do no gi jiu-jitsu. So I went to a gi open mat last Friday after not having really trained in gi for over a year or so, probably a little more than a year. Got worked. Got worked, absolutely worked. But it's cool. It's funny getting humbled like that. Especially when at one point in time, hey, my skills were a little bit sharper with the gi on, and now they're not. So, and I mainly want to try to get back into gi, just to try to keep them comparable, right? Just because later on down the line, I don't want to be a black belt in no gi, right? And then like a blue or purple belt in the gi, right? So I kind of want to keep them balanced out. I know a lot of people will hate on, a lot of no gi guys will hate on gi, and a lot of gi guys will hate on no gi. I don't really get the point of that, but I like to try to keep it balanced, right? So that's what I'm going to try to do going forward. And then just the day-to-day life with trying to balance all of that out has been pretty smooth up to now. We've been trying to, or we always usually eat pretty well, eat pretty healthy, and then just throughout the day, try to stick to our routines. And so now it'll be a little bit more busy, just when my wife starts filling up to getting back into working out and getting back into shape and doing what she likes to do on the day-to-day basis, and me returning to work. But still, with that, trying to maintain everything that we're doing. There's only 24 hours in the day, and trying to fit it all in is going to be tough. So working to get a treadmill and a bike trainer now, so that way I can wake up in the mornings and get the work that I can that I need to in before going to my actual job. It's going to be helpful. And then leading on to the real segment of the day, my thoughts over the last week, and the subject of it, which comes from the other night. We were, obviously I touched on having a kid and being at home. And right, you start losing your mind when you're at home because the TV's on a little bit more frequently than you'd like. You pick up your phone and you start doom scrolling a little bit more than you'd like. And you just come across so much stuff and so much noise that your brain, at least for me, like my brain has gotten to the point to where I'm extremely tired of seeing like social media and seeing like the TV and movies and whatnot. Like my brain has just taken too much of it in over the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks that like I'm kind of over it, right? So me and my wife were sitting on the couch the other night with the TV off, kids were asleep, and I have a few books on the entertainment center. So I went and picked up an oldie but a goodie, one of my favorites. And if you haven't read this book, you should really look into reading it. It is Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. Talks about all of Marcus Aurelius's notes and whatnot involving stoicism, right? So usually when I'm bored, I always refer back to stoicism. That's just one of my favorite philosophies. And if it's not Marcus Aurelius, it's Ryan Holiday. There's a few good ones out there. I'm not even going to start naming some off, but I'll refer back to them every now and again. And so I picked up this book. I've listened to it before, I've read it before, but it was just there and I was bored, so I picked it up to try to get some clarity as to where I'm at in my life and in my current situation. And sure enough, I came across a quote on line 12 of book 7 that kind of stuck out to me. And at face value, it is a very simple quote. And the quote is, standing straight or held straight. And so this got me thinking after I read it over the next few days of where I was at in my life, and and what categories was I standing straight and where I was being held straight. And the lesson of the standing straight or the held straight, if you look a little bit deeper into it, is standing straight refers to your inner strength, and being upright on your own, morally, mentally, and how your character is, right? And by character, what are you guided by? What are you on your own guided by? Right, and then held straight is an external force, right? So the external forces would be rules, fear, social pressure, and then opinions of others. And I'm sure there's a ton more that we could probably name off with the held straight, but we don't have to. I'm not going to dive super deep into them right now. So, so I began questioning just that one line, standing straight or held straight, where I've been at in my life and where I am currently standing straight at and where I'm being held straight at. And, we can take this across any different situation in our lives, any different day-to-day activities in our lives. And it comes, kind of in the same quote or in the same family of like the quote, how you do one thing is how you do everything, right? So that's kind of where where this line stuck out to me was, what topics or what ideas that I have, are my own, and then what topics or ideas or opinions that I have that have been, kind of forced onto me by social media, by the news, by people around me, and what they think, right? So kind of breaking that off. For me, standing straight, I think is heavily relates to one's integrity. If we were to give examples, standing straight heavily relates to one's integrity and how they do things, right? And I think real integrity comes from, standing straight. As on the opposite, I think a false integrity comes from being held up or being held straight. And just to break this off in an example, if you're in the blue collar field or any field, typically you don't have supervision on you at all times, right? So let's just say, for example, in the blue collar work or in the blue collar industries, typically you break off with a partner or a team to go do a job or a task, and you don't have direct supervision. You're either a team leader, a team member, or however they have it set up. But you're one of those guys. You're a part of that team, a part of that crew, or maybe you go off by yourself, depending on what the task or the job is. And standing straight in as it relates to integrity is, okay, I know I got sent to go do this job. I'm going to do this job, and I'm going to do it the correct way, by the book, by the procedure, with safety in mind, right? And that is what true integrity is, right? It's not about cutting corners. It's not about whether someone or not is going to call you out on your work or whatnot. It's doing the right thing, by the book, by the procedure, safely, because in your heart and in your mind that it's the right thing to do. And a lot of people lose sight of that when it comes to work and not being supervised. So on the other side of that, integrity or false integrity has become false integrity, and being held straight is, all right, I got sent to go do this job. Who am I working with? Am I going to be supervised? Is someone going to come check my work? Typically someone that has false integrity is going to ask themselves a few of those questions, right? And if, the questions come back as, hey, no one's going to come check my work, no one's watching me, no one's going to tell on me, and no one's going to find out the method and the processes I use to accomplish this task or this job, let's go ahead and kind of cut corners and not do the job correctly or safely. And I've been on both sides of this, right? I've been a young dumb, I would say, technician in the field that has cut corners before, and I've been with people that have allowed me to cut corners before, and same thing. I've been the person that has allowed someone else to cut corners, and then taken on a more of a leadership role, and learning and growing within my industry and the industry I currently work in. You start to realize that being that young, dumb, naive kid or guy is not the route to go, and you start wanting to do things the right way, and you start applying that to everything in your life, right? Like, you want to start doing things the right way because you know that morally and mentally this is the right thing to do. And so I've been on both sides of this as it relates to work, and now, like, for me at work, I think a higher calling is to do things the right way as best as possible, and taking that thought into your real life perspective and how you look at life is trying to do everything to the best of your ability, whether someone's watching or not. Yeah, so that's how I would relate it to, or give an example of how it relates to work and how you carry it over to work. Now, turning into how it relates to you and your life on a day-to-day basis, and kind of more so what you stand for as a person and your character as a person. So, at the beginning of the video, I said, one of my goals was to make more authentic content, and I relate this line, standing straight or held straight, perfectly to, or relate it exactly to making more authentic content or being your most authentic self. Just because, a lot of our thoughts can oftentimes be skewed by what we see on social media, what we see on the news, and who we have in our ears whispering to us, right? So I think it is important as a person and as an individual to kind of really take a step back on topics that have been discussed throughout the day, or topics that you see and you feel a certain way about. I think it's really key and really critical to take a step back and really identify exactly how you feel about those topics. And if you have questions about those topics, or how it relates to you, or why you think a certain way about them, kind of try to look at it from an outside perspective. And what I mean by that is, okay, I think about this topic, like this because of this experience I've had in my life, or yada yada, right? So, and then really sticking to that once you identify why you think a certain way and why you've came up with a certain opinion or conclusion on said topic, right? So, that is what standing straight means, right? If I'm gonna make this this YouTube video, it's because I solely believe in what I'm making this YouTube video for, right? Versus being held straight. Oh, I'm making this YouTube video because I feel someone needs me to make this YouTube video, or whatever external force you could apply to this example. Maybe it's a bad example of why I would be doing this, right? So, social pressure, yeah, that's the word I was looking for. But yeah, so that's how I would relate to the moral aspect, or the character aspect of it. Is at the end of it, this is easily explained as self-guided reason, right? What is guiding your reasoning, and do you stand behind that, or are you willing to abandon ship at any, depending on who's talking to you and who thinks what about it, right? So that's really what the video comes down to, I believe, and why I chose this topic for the video is being your most authentic self is sticking to what you believe in, but with that, knowing what you believe in, why is what you believe in true to you, and can you back that up with your experiences and your research, or what you've gathered to come to this conclusion of the opinion or the topic, right? And then being held straight is, does this opinion on this topic, or does this thought on this topic, or does this action have something to do with someone outside of you applying it to you, right? Someone outside of you applying the pressure for you to think this way, for you to act this way, or for you to just be this way in general, right? So that is the big key here, is standing straight, inner strength, have the inner strength to be the person you want to be your most authentic self, and stick to your guns when it comes to what you believe in. And being held straight is addressing those topics, and if you believe a certain thing, or have a certain opinion because of external forces, because of rules, because of fear, because of social pressure, because of opinions of others, like I mentioned earlier. And yeah, so that's pretty much the whole video and what I wanted to talk about, by all means, if you have any questions, please comment them. If you have any other thoughts or explanation of what I've discussed today, by all means, feel free to share it. I'd love to interact with anybody in the comments. And then, yeah, like, subscribe, and have a good day. See you soon.